But is there anyone in particular? Because I know Keith Thurman keeps saying he wants you.
I want Keith Thurman.
While, exciting-wise, as in a Pacquiao, as in a Khan, or, a Thurman Garcia, them kind of fighters.
Let's say you're at 147. Who would you want in it with you?
Keith Thurman.
Boxing Truth here, back with another video. Let's talk about this situation that's been brewing for a long time. Years, actually. Kell Brook has always wanted to fight Keith Thurman. He's always had a strong desire for some reason, even before Thurman became an official world champion. Brook was the one that had, among those fighters around that time, Brook was the one that had the big victory over everybody else. Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman. He was Spence. He was the one that got the big win first in that division when he defeated Sean Porter for the IBF welterweight title 6 years ago in Carson, California. I believe it was there. He was the road warrior. He was the underdog. A lot of the American public counted him out, didn't know who he was. But he was, a lot of boxing insiders said, and he was the best welterweight outside of Mayweather and Pacquiao at that time. Because it was, at that time, the Mayweather-Pacquiao era in the welterweight division. It was Mayweather, Pacquiao, and everybody else. But everybody in boxing circles thought this guy was the best outside of them. He was considered the third best welterweight, especially when he defeated Sean Porter in the fashion that he did it in. It wasn't the most exciting. He outboxed him. He out-strengthened him on the inside. He tied him up, kept him on the outside, which is one of Porter's biggest weaknesses. He can tame him at a distance. Kell Brook, his career leaves a lot to be desired. He made a mistake moving up 2 divisions, daring to be great, challenging a middleweight undefeated middleweight champion. Came up short, got stopped, was ruined. Wasn't really the same after that fight. Confidence was gone. Eye was busted. Punch resistance not the same, especially when he went back down. Gets knocked out again when he was when he had to fight his mandatory or get stripped. Had a tough decision to make. Kell Brooks had an unlucky career. Became champion during the Mayweather-Pacquiao era and was boxed out. Couldn't get that big fight because he was an unknown UK fighter, at least unknown in American circles. And Mayweather and Pacquiao had other opponents that were considered more marketable, bigger name recognition. But Brook was the most dangerous challenger to them at that time, 2014, 2015. It's too bad Kell Brook didn't get a chance to prove that, he was an elite welterweight. He was a top welterweight, but he didn't really have a great reign, didn't have the unification fights that he needed. But he's always had something about Keith Thurman, man. Every time the American press did an interview with him, especially when he first won his first world title, just look at the Showtime interview after he defeated Sean Porter. The very first name he says in the videos, in the footage I included in this video as well, he's among the very first names he says. It was the very first name that came out of his mouth when he was asked who he wanted to fight next. And this is when Thurman wasn't even a real legit world champion. He was a regular WBA champion, and he was getting ducked by Mayweather, who didn't want to fight him as his mandatory. Thurman was Mayweather's mandatory for 2 years, couldn't get that shot. And Kell Brook, fresh off his victory over Sean Porter, becoming IBF champion, the first name that came out of his mouth was Keith Thurman. He's always wanted to fight Thurman. He's been pushing for that fight for years. He's wanted that fight for years. He's been calling out Keith Thurman for years. Thurman has reciprocated the interest, but he's never been really serious about making that fight. He hasn't, he's been injured. He's like an old man, constantly getting hurt. And he's only 31 years old, but with such a fragile body. Both guys have had not similar careers, but, they've had their ups and downs and a lot left to be desired in their careers. Thurman with his inactivity, Kell Brook not getting his big fights in the welterweight division before he got knocked out by a much larger fighter. Not getting the chance against Mayweather and Pacquiao. Being boxed out by some of the PBC fighters who didn't want to come over to fight him. Spence was the only one because he had to earn his stripes. But none of the other champions or big names in the division wanted to fight him or were eager to fight him. But Thurman has responded. But it's a lot of bullshit talk. He's saying, show me the pounds. But, you got a power broker behind you. Why don't you get some of that American money to get Kell Brook to come over? Make it worth his while. Make this fight happen. It's a little grudge match there. For a while, they were considered number 3 and number 4. If it wasn't Kell Brook, a lot of people said Thurman was the best welterweight at that time. This is before Spence became champion. But these were the two guys, man, that were considered the very best challengers and biggest threats to Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. These were the guys. Keith Thurman and Kell Brook. Brook was more accomplished at the time. Became champion first before Keith Thurman. Thurman, now he's a bigger name. Fresh off a pay-per-view fight. So why don't you bring, get some of that American money. Entice Kell Brook to come over. But Brook is, he's got some options. He's being courted for a big fight in the welterweight division. Terrence Crawford needs a dance partner, but I'm not sure how that fight's gonna get made. Crawford is not interested in taking a pay cut in these circumstances, so I'm not sure how this fight is possible. Thurman, is he serious? I don't know, man. He's really full of shit, man. Saying he's hurt, he needs surgery, always complaining about body aches, not being 100% healthy, making excuses to getting his ass whooped by a 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao, calling people out, threatening Spence to leave the division. But, bro, you ain't making no moves, man. You still hurt. You still on the sidelines after getting beat by Pacquiao. Pacquiao's all fresh at 41, hitting the heavy bag. And what the fuck is you doing? Out of shape, looking fat. Looking round and shit. Not even in training. Not even putting that work in. Desire's not even there, bruh. But it's a perfect opponent for Keith Thurman to show that he's still, a player in the welterweight division. Be someone like Kell Brook. Still brings some name value. Still brings it's a little good name on your resume if you can defeat him. Kell Brook is not the fighter he once was, but he's still a capable fighter. Still has some left in him physically. But it's a fight that should happen, man. Kell Brook has been calling you out for 6 years. You were the first name that came out of his mouth. It wasn't Mayweather, it wasn't Pacquiao when he first won the world title back in 2014. He said your name, Keith, and he's calling you out again. Well, all you talking is that bullshit, bruh. Talking about bringing me the pounds. Man, you already know, bro. You fighting a bum in your next fight because you ain't confident, especially after getting knocked down and dropped by an aging Manny Pacquiao. You need to shake off the cobwebs again, because you're going to continue to make excuses if you take a big fight and you lose. Fight somebody, bro. Kell Brook once been wanting to fight you. It's been 6 years. There was a time where I felt Kell Brook would have murdered Keith Thurman, but now that fight's more 50-50. Both have been through their ups and downs. Thurman got his ass whooped by an Asian Pacquiao. Kell Brook got stopped twice, 2 broken over the bones later. Now at 33 years of age, on the verge of being 34. How much left does Kell Brook have left? No one really knows. But we'll find out in a fight against like Keith Thurman or Terrence Crawford. Hopefully he gets one of these fights, man. Kell Brook deserves another big fight in the welterweight division to redeem himself, to prove that he truly was a really, really, really good welterweight. Almost A-level, almost elite level. Just never got the chance to prove it and under the right circumstances. Kell Brook's career it's a sad career, man. It's one of the saddest careers I've ever seen. But maybe Brook will finally get his chance against one of those top welterweights, big name welterweights that he's been wanting to fight. Not a mandatory challenger, an up and coming fighter like Spence when he fought him, but an established, legit name. Kell Brook deserves a Keith Thurman or Terrence Crawford fight. Just give him that shot, man. Let him go out on his terms. Hopefully he gets that one of those fights. It would be a fitting end to his career if he can somehow pull off a significant upset against Crawford. And he probably would be the underdog against Thurman as well. With everything that's happened in his career. What a great way to go out. If Kell Brook can get one of those big name wins under his belt in the welterweight division, his career will be fulfilled if he gets one of those big wins under his belt. Just needs that opportunity. Hopefully he gets it. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.